London, one of the greatest cities on earth, right? But what if I told you some parts are so dangerous, so neglected, and so depressing that locals are begging to leave? According to crime data, some London boroughs have seen a 25% rise in violent crime over the past year alone. And that's just the beginning. In 2025, the dream of living in London is starting to look more like a nightmare for many. Crumbling schools, soaring rents, trash piling up in the streets, and neighborhoods without basic services. You won't believe how bad it's gotten in some areas, and we're not just talking about the usual suspects. From estates where police rarely show up, to towns where teens are scared to leave home after dark. This is the harsh reality for thousands of Londoners. This isn't just hearsay. We're diving into stats, resident reviews, and community reports to uncover the 10 worst towns in London you should never move to. And trust me, number 1 will genuinely surprise you. So before you pack your bags for the big smoke, stay tuned. You need to hear this, and if you live in one of the messenger. Number 10, Thamesmead, Greenwich, Bexley. Welcome to Thamesmead, where you're technically in London, but you'll feel completely cut off from it. Located on the edge of Greenwich and Bexley, Thamesmead was once hailed as a futuristic utopia in the 60s. Today, it's a cautionary tale. Poor transport links make it feel more like an island than a suburb. There's no underground station, and getting into central London can take over an hour, even on a good day. For a city that thrives on connectivity, this is a serious red flag. But it's not just about transport. Thamesmead suffers from rising crime rates, especially burglary, drug-related offences, and antisocial behaviour. Some streets have become no-go zones after dark, and residents frequently complain about feeling unsafe, unheard and forgotten by both councils involved. The area also lacks. Many estates were poorly designed, creating isolated pockets that breed disconnection. Add to that a shortage of shops, healthcare facilities, and cultural spaces, and you've got a recipe for long-term frustration and daily inconvenience. What about green spaces? Yes, Thamesmead has canals and parks, but many are poorly maintained with litter and vandalism, making them less inviting than they should be. And let's not forget the flooding risk. Being built on marshland doesn't help. Climate change has made things worse, with heavy rains regularly overwhelming drainage systems, raising concerns about long-term housing sustainability. In short, Thamesmead is a place where big promises were made, but reality never delivered. If you're looking for good schools, quick commutes, and a vibrant community, this isn't it. It has potential. It's a gamble most people shouldn't take. Number 9. Ilford, Redbridge. Ilford might look like a bustling outer London town with potential, but beneath the surface it's facing serious issues that make it one of the least appealing places to move to right now. Let's start with schools. Redbridge used to boast some of the top-performing schools in London, but recent reports show a steep decline in standards. Overcrowding is a major problem, with classrooms packed beyond capacity. Teachers are overworked, under-supported, and parents are concerned about the quality of education. The housing situation isn't any better. While prices might seem more affordable compared to inner London, the quality doesn't match. Illegal HMOs, houses in multiple occupation, are widespread, and many tenants report poor living conditions. Damp, broken heating, and rodent infestations are not uncommon. Is another concern. Ilford has seen a steady rise in theft, assault, and drug-related incidents over the past 3 years. In some parts of the town, residents feel abandoned by police and local authorities. Combine that with poorly maintained public spaces, a struggling high street, and a lack of nightlife. And you're left with a town that feels more neglected than up and coming. And let's not forget the traffic. Congestion is a daily nightmare, and the air pollution levels are now among the worst in outer London. It's not just inconvenient, it's affecting your health and well-being. So is Ilford the place to start your London dream? Not unless you're prepared for some serious compromises. If you've lived in or around Ilford, drop a comment below. We want to hear your experience. And don't forget to subscribe for more brutally honest breakdowns of London's Number 8, Harlesden, Brent. If you're looking for a neighbourhood that perfectly captures the contradictions of London life, Harlesden might be it. At first glance, it's colourful, diverse, and alive with Caribbean and Brazilian influences. The street food is legendary, the music scene historic. But scratch beneath the vibrant surface and a different reality emerges. One that makes Harlesden a challenging choice for anyone thinking of moving there. Harlesden has long been known for its gritty reputation, and although regeneration projects have tried to polish its image, many problems remain entrenched. Crime figures here are consistently among the highest in Brent, with a particular spike in youth violence and gang-related incidents. Local residents often talk about the tension that sits just under the surface, the feeling that trouble can flare up without warning. Housing is another sore point. While rents might seem cheaper compared to more central postcodes, many of the properties are in need of serious maintenance. Overcrowded flats and poorly managed blocks have created pockets of deprivation right next to newly built developments, intensifying the contrast between the old Harlesden and the new. Infrastructure hasn't kept up either. Public spaces are limited, and the high street, though bustling, struggles with fly tipping and neglected shopfronts. Even transport, one of Harlesden's better features, often feels overwhelmed, with packed buses and trains at rush hour. This isn't to say Harlesden is without hope. It's got energy, culture, and potential. But for now, living here means balancing the benefits of diversity and vibrancy against real safety concerns, stretched local services, and housing that hasn't caught up with demand. Number 7. Southall, Ealing. You can smell Southall before you even step off the train. Spices. It's one of the most culturally rich corners of London, often called Little India, and there's no doubt the food and fabrics are top tier. But living here, that's a different story entirely. Let's talk air quality. Southall has some of the worst pollution levels in West London, and it's not just because of traffic. The redevelopment of the former gasworks site sparked protests from residents who complained about toxic fumes and foul odours lingering in the air for years. It's a health concern that still hasn't gone away, especially for families with children and those with asthma. Then there's the issue of housing. Illegal extensions, packed HMOs, and backyard dwellings are widespread. Many families live in substandard conditions, with landlords exploiting the desperate need for affordable housing. Cracked walls, poor insulation, and fire hazards are all too common. The infrastructure. Roads are constantly jammed, the trains are packed, and public services, from GP appointments to bin collection, are stretched thin. Walk around the neighbourhood and you'll see signs of neglect. Overflowing bins, potholes, broken pavements, and fly tipping in alleyways. And while the community spirit is strong, there's also tension. High population density combined with limited resources has made things feel overcrowded and at times chaotic. Southall is full of flavour, noise, and life. But for many residents, it's also full of compromises. If you're thinking of moving here, ask yourself, can you handle the mess behind the magic? This isn't a hidden gem, it's a stressed-out suburb wearing a vibrant disguise. Number 6. Hackney. Hackney has undergone one of the most dramatic transformations in London. What was once a gritty and poverty is now a hotspot for startups, artisan bakeries, and painfully hip coffee shops. But don't let the flat whites and farmers' markets fool you. Hackney still has problems that no amount of gentrification can fully erase. Let's talk about inequality. Nowhere in London is the contrast between wealth and poverty more glaring. In one street, you'll find million-pound lofts and rooftop yoga. In the next, families are packed into crumbling council flats with broken lifts and mould-stained walls. It's a borough of extremes, and for many residents, that divide is getting worse. Despite falling overall crime rates in some areas, Hackney still ranks high for violent offences, burglaries, and antisocial behaviour. Youth crime, in particular, remains a serious issue. And while police presence has increased in recent years, response times and community trust remain shaky at best. Rent prices. Once the refuge of artists and creatives, Hackney has now priced out many of the very people who gave it its original charm. If you're not earning a solid salary, good luck finding somewhere to live that's both safe and reasonably comfortable. Even the vibe has changed. What used to feel edgy and authentic now feels curated, commercialized, and expensive. The soul is still there, but you have to look much harder to find it. Hackney is a borough that's trying to have it both ways, polished on the outside, but still cracking underneath. If you're drawn to the image, make sure you're ready for the reality too. Number 5. Brent. Brent is one of those boroughs that seems to be in a constant state of flux. With Wembley Stadium at its heart, it has the glitz of world-class events and international attention. But once the music stops and the fans leave, what's left? Different story. One of the most pressing issues in Brent is its overwhelmed public services. The NHS here is stretched to breaking point. Local clinics are overbooked, GP waiting times are long, and many residents struggle to access basic healthcare. Mental health support is scarce, and social services are buckling under pressure. The housing crisis is another major pain point. Overcrowding is rampant, and the borough has some of the highest levels of homelessness in London. People are being forced into temporary accommodations for months, sometimes years, with little sign of improvement. Rents are rising faster than wages, and social housing is in critically short supply. Families are crammed into one-bedroom flats, with no outdoor space or stability. Then there's crime. Drug-related offences, knife crime, and antisocial behaviour have all seen increases in areas like Harlesden, Stonebridge, and parts of Kilburn. While regeneration projects are happening, they often feel like surface-level improvements rather than deep, lasting change. Even schools are feeling the squeeze. Teacher shortages, funding cuts, and growing class sizes are making it harder for kids in Brent to get the education they deserve. Brent may have its bright spots, diversity, culture, and community pride, but these can't cover up the deeper issues. For many, living here isn't about thriving. It's about surviving in a system that's stretched thin and falling behind. Number 4. Tottenham, Haringey. Tottenham is a place that's constantly being rebranded. Estate agents call it up and coming. Developers call it the next big thing. But if you ask many locals, the truth is a little more complicated and much less polished. This and waves of investment over the past decade, from shiny apartment blocks to the sleek rebuild of Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And yet, for many long-time residents, none of it feels like it's for them. Gentrification has hit Tottenham hard. Rents have skyrocketed, forcing families who've lived here for generations to move out. Local businesses are closing, replaced by trendy cafes, artisan bakeries, and overpriced delis. The cultural fabric that gave Tottenham its identity is being pulled apart in slow motion. But even with the new glass buildings and marketing buzzwords, some core issues haven't budged. Gang violence and knife crime are still major concerns, especially for younger residents. In fact, Tottenham has one of the highest rates of youth violence in the capital. Public services are also stretched thin. Schools are overcrowded, mental health, and housing waiting lists are years long. The divide between the newcomers and the old guard is growing, and so is the tension and resentment. Tottenham is a tale of two cities within one postcode, one slick and polished for outsiders, the other neglected, bruised, and struggling. It's a battleground between hype and hardship, dreams and displacement. For all its promise, living in Tottenham today means dealing with serious social divides, safety concerns, and the uneasy feeling that you're slowly being priced out of your own story. Number 3. Newham. Newham is often described as one of London's most dynamic boroughs, home to the Olympic Park, a booming property market, and a mix of cultures from every corner of the globe. But behind the glossy marketing and the shiny towers in Stratford lies a borough grappling with some very... The first is overcrowding. Newham has one of the highest population densities in London, and it shows. Flats designed for small families now hold 3 generations under one roof. Illegal extensions and makeshift accommodations are common, as desperate tenants accept whatever space they can find. This strain bleeds into everything else. Schools, hospitals, and public transport are under relentless pressure. Air quality is another major concern. With major roads slicing through the borough, pollution levels are consistently high. In parts of Newham, the air exceeds legal limits for nitrogen dioxide, raising serious long-term health risks for children and vulnerable residents. Housing is a double-edged sword here. While shiny developments around Stratford promise luxury living, many long-time residents are priced out or into temporary housing. Meanwhile, social housing estates suffer from neglect, with damp, broken lifts and slow repairs. Crime rates, especially for theft, burglary, and antisocial behavior, remain stubbornly high. Residents frequently report feeling unsafe after dark, particularly in less developed areas away from the main hubs. Newham embodies a sharp contrast, a borough of billion-pound projects and struggling families. It's a place where the promise of regeneration hasn't yet caught up with the reality on the ground, and where, for many, daily life feels like a battle for space, safety, and stability. Number 2. Croydon. Croydon has long been called a mini-city, a place with its own buzz, skyline, and ambition. Once pitched as the next big tech hub, with regeneration plans and new developments flooding the borough, it seemed like Croydon was on the rise. But instead, in 2020, Croydon Council declared bankruptcy, and the aftermath has been devastating. Cuts to essential services have left residents feeling abandoned. Libraries closed, community centres shuttered, and maintenance across estates has been neglected. Even basic things like street cleaning, park upkeep, and pothole repairs have taken a back seat. Crime has soared. Knife crime and youth violence are major concerns, and Croydon consistently ranks among the worst boroughs for reported robberies and assaults. Some parts of the borough, particularly around West Croydon and Thornton Heath, have become hotbeds for antisocial behaviour, leaving residents uneasy and frustrated. The housing situation is equally grim. New developments might suggest a building boom, but many of the flats sit empty or overpriced. Meanwhile, social housing stock is crumbling. Families live in damp, while thousands remain on long waiting lists with no end in sight. Croydon's High Street tells the rest of the story. Once full of life, it now feels empty, with boarded-up shops, homelessness, and a growing sense of decline. The promised revitalization never quite arrived or delivered meaningful change. Yes, Croydon has potential. It's connected, diverse, and filled with resilient people. But that potential has been undermined by poor leadership, failed promises, and mounting social challenges. Right now, living in Croydon often means navigating chaos and waiting for change that feels increasingly out of reach. Number 1. Barking and Dagenham. Topping the list is Barking and Dagenham, a borough that's often discussions about London's future, but impossible to ignore when talking about where life is hardest right now. This borough has consistently ranked as one of the most deprived areas in the capital. It has the lowest average income of any London borough, and child poverty rates are among the highest in the UK. For many families, every day is a fight just to make ends meet. Crime is a huge concern. Violent incidents, youth gang activity, and antisocial behaviour have plagued parts of the borough for years. Barking in particular has become a hotspot for knife crime, and trust in local policing is low. Schools are struggling. Despite the best efforts of hard-working teachers, Many schools in the area face underfunding, overcrowding, and poor academic outcomes. It's not just about test scores, it's about opportunity, and right now too many young people in Barking and Dagenham are being left behind. Housing, that's a crisis on its own, full of tired post-war estates, many in serious disrepair. Waiting lists are long, conditions are poor, and even the new developments are often unaffordable for the people who already live there. Public services are overwhelmed, job opportunities are limited, and transport links, especially in Dagenham, leave much to be desired. Barking and Dagenham isn't just struggling, it's shouting for help. And yet, it's still largely ignored. For many residents, life here means surviving, not living. This isn't just the worst place to move to in London, it's the one that needs the most urgent attention, support, and change. Before you go, have you lived in any of these towns? Drop your raw, unfiltered experience in the comments. If this opened your eyes, you'll want to check out our last video. It might just change your mind about another part of London. We pour hours of research videos to bring you the truth. So if you appreciate it, support us with a quick subscribe. It's just one click, but it means everything to us.